You notice a tiny, perfectly shaped funnel pressed into the dry, sandy soil near your porch or under a shady tree, almost like something scooped it out with a spoon. Most people either ignore it or avoid stepping near it, assuming whatever made it is something to stay away from. In reality, that little funnel is a sign that one of the most effective pest hunters in your yard is already on the job. This is the work of an antlion, or more specifically, its larva, which most people in the United States know by a much more familiar nickname, the doodlebug. Antlions belong to a family with roughly 2,000 known species worldwide, close relatives of lacewings, and they're most common in warm, dry regions where loose, sandy soil is easy to find, garden beds, the base of trees, under decks, anywhere sheltered from rain and wind. That name actually comes from the meandering, squiggly trails these larvae leave behind in loose sand while searching for the perfect spot to build a trap. Tracks that look almost exactly like someone doodling in the dirt. Let's talk about that trap first, because it's genuinely impressive engineering for something the size of a grain of rice. The larva builds it by moving backward in a tight spiral, using its own abdomen like a plow to shift soil outward while flicking loose sand away with its head. Within a surprisingly short amount of time, that motion carves out a smooth, cone-shaped pit with steep, unstable walls, engineered specifically so that anything that wanders in has an extremely hard time climbing back out. Once the pit is finished, the doodlebug buries itself at the very bottom, completely out of sight, with only its massive, curved jaws left exposed just above the sand. Then it waits. When an ant or some other small insect wanders too close to the edge and the loose sand gives way beneath it, the antlion doesn't just sit back and hope gravity does the work. It actively flicks even more sand upward at the struggling insect, triggering a small landslide that keeps dragging the prey back down toward those waiting jaws no matter how hard it tries to climb free. Once prey is within reach, the antlion strikes, and its mandibles aren't just sharp, they're hollow, working almost exactly like a pair of syringes. Through those hollow jaws, it injects a combination of paralyzing venom and digestive enzymes directly into its prey, immobilizing it almost instantly, while its insides slowly turn to liquid. The antlion then simply drinks the dissolved contents, and once it's finished, it flicks the empty husk right back out of the pit, like tossing out the trash, resetting the trap, and going right back to waiting. Here's a detail that even a lot of bug enthusiasts don't know, and it's genuinely one of the stranger facts in the insect world. Antlion larvae don't have a functioning anus during this entire stage of life. There's no connection between their gut and the outside world, which means every bit of waste produced while they're feeding just stays stored inside their body, sometimes for over a year at a time. When the larva finally finishes growing and prepares to transform, a portion of that stored waste gets converted into the silk used to help build its cocoon. It's an insect that essentially holds everything in for the majority of its life and only lets it go once, right at the very end of that larval stage. And that larval stage really is the majority of its life. Depending on the species and how much food is available, a doodlebug can spend anywhere from 1 to 3 years living underground in that pit, patiently hunting before it's finally ready to change. When that time comes, it digs down even deeper and spins a round cocoon out of silk and sand, sealing itself inside for roughly a month while it transforms completely. What eventually crawls out looks almost nothing like the fierce little ambush predator that built that pit. The adult antlion has a long, delicate body and 4 narrow, intricately veined wings, closely resembling a damselfly at a quick glance. The easiest way to tell them apart is the antennae. Damselflies have thin, thread-like antennae, while adult antlions have short, distinctly clubbed antennae, thicker at the tip like a tiny bat. Adults are weak, fluttery flyers, mostly active at dusk or after dark, and many species barely eat at all during this stage, some sipping nectar or pollen if anything, since the larva already did the heavy feeding required to fuel this entire final chapter. That adult life is also remarkably short, often lasting only a few weeks before the antlion mates, lays eggs, and the entire cycle starts over again in the sand below. Despite those intimidating jaws visible at the bottom of every pit, antlion larvae are completely harmless to people and pets. They have no interest in humans whatsoever, no ability to meaningfully bite a person, and nothing about their venom is built to affect anything larger than a small insect. What they are genuinely good at is quietly clearing out ants and other small pests one at a time, all day and all night, entirely for free, without you ever having to lift a finger. Entomologists actually group antlions in the same category as ladybugs, praying mantises, and lacewings, insects that quietly provide natural, chemical-free pest control simply by living exactly where they already are. So the next time you spot one of those small, perfectly cone-shaped pits pressed into dry soil near your house, resist the urge to kick it apart or pour water down it out of curiosity. There's a patient, highly specialized little predator sitting at the bottom of that funnel, quietly doing pest control work most people never even notice is happening. If this changed the way you look at those little sand traps in your yard, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who've been avoiding one of the most fascinating tiny predators without even knowing it. Let me know in the comments, did you grow up finding these pits in the dirt? And did you know back then what was actually living at the bottom of them? Subscribe if you want more videos uncovering the truth behind the creatures most people completely overlook. See you in the next one.